Hi Patricia, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing okay. What
You
about
doing
yourself?
okay?
Yeah, can't complain.
Hanging in there?
I am.
I can imagine all this situation that is happening right now, all the things that we have to accommodate and change in order
Yeah,
to survive, I said.
yeah, it's crazy. But I'm trying to make the best of it. You know, it's
Yes,
forcing us to learn other skills, and we have the chance to catch up with stuff we probably wouldn't be able to do if it was normal. So I'm trying to
right.
make the best of the time. So we'll see.
So, yes, I saw that you had time to really even write during the summer, have a little break because you've been busy.
Yeah, it's been pretty. There's been a lot going on, but all good stuff to kind of help me grow and opportunities and stuff. So, you
Yeah.
know, I I I'm trying to make the best of it. I guess I'm like a big optimist.
But that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Right.
We have to, in these times, we have to try
Yeah.
to survive and most of all to take advantage of some of the positive things
Right.
out of the
Yeah.
negative, actually positive things that
Right.
can be used in the future and now
Exactly.
too.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I've been having several conversations with different directors, and you are one of the most amazing people that I ever met. Not just because besides you're a fantastic conductor, but you are one of the most sensitive and caring people that I know.
Oh,
So
wow.
I talk about this because your students, obviously we have this relationship with your students that sing here at the church and sing for me, and they're just amazing, and the praises that they say about you are just too very inspiring. So
Oh, well,
and I
thank
want
you
to
so
I
much.
want to know what you do to them. What
Oh man.
specifically that the in the rehearsal that you have, I know that communication and that relationship between you and them is so strong,
Hmm.
that I think every choir director would like to have that.
Wow.
um,
Wow. Um. Well, sometimes you do things and it may kind of come out of a lack of conscious thought sometimes.
mhm.
So honestly, it's only been since this pandemic where I've kind of sat back and well, all of us have had to sit back, right, and try to figure out how to um, how to put in writing or how to explain or how to share some of the ingredients that I think work for whatever I do, whether it's with the Aeolians or on the road guest conducting or and really, a lot of the principles are not really just for choirs, for any kind of group dynamic. And so it was early in the pandemic, like in March, I was having a conversation with James Jordan. And we were just talking about, we were just chatting really. And the very next day, he called me back and he said, Jason, what we talked about yesterday, I think is so powerful and it represents so many of the ingredients that we one don't teach in schools of music or um, we definitely don't talk about it openly and it's simple things that seem so unrelated to music, but I had some time to kind of just sit back and think it through and pen an essay or pen some thoughts, and I think some of the ingredients are these and probably not limited to these, but three things I think. The whole notion of curiosity. um, The second notion is the notion of empathy, and the third notion, one of optimism. So I kind of call it being a CEO, C-E and the O.
Mhm.
And I think in retrospect, those are some of the ingredients that really work for the program here at Oakwood and for the Aeolians. And curiosity just really just speaks to finding out more about people outside of our normal, outside of our safe circle. Um, and being curious about how other people live and how other people think and what other people, what other people's worldview is. Um, and I think once we do that, you automatically then have to open up a door to welcome them, I guess is the word. So from a choir director's perspective, I want to be curious about the people who are coming to listen to us. Like, what are they in need of? What do they like to hear? What are they not most likely to want to hear? Because I think that's important too. Not to just feed them what they think they want all the time, but to expose them. And then empathy simply is empathy simply just feeling the emotions of someone else. And it occurred to me that many of the real what's the word I'm looking for? Many of the monumental performances that I could think of with the Aeolians, many of them have come on the heels of some sort of event that kind of caused us to have to come together. So like the one that comes very, very quickly to the forefront of my brain is the big accident we had like a year ago, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, we everybody, we spent a lot of time talking about the accident itself and all that sort of thing. But the concert that we did the Sunday after the accident was perhaps one of the most memorable concerts I've ever been a part of. I mean, you just have to kind of be in the moment to even understand. I can't even really describe it to you, but at that point, I didn't feel like I was conducting at all. I mean, I was just kind of being a little guide here or there. I mean, because of all we had to go through that weekend. I mean, it just kind of pulled everybody together, and we had to be there for the other people and that sort of thing. And and even if the audience wasn't aware of the accident, if they had just come in there cold and knowing nothing, I think they would have still felt whatever was in the air that day. I mean, it was a mind blowing kind of concert, and all of a sudden, all of a sudden, a lot of the words that we were singing for that whole school year, I mean, a lot of the words just all of a sudden made so much sense. So that's the E, empathy, and then optimism. Man, I mean, just to get through this pandemic, we were just talking about that, right? Like, there's so many statistics about the mental health cases have gone skyrocketing because people just are going crazy and can't cope. But so the optimism here kind of describes like a Nelson Mandela. Mandela was in prison for 27 years in South Africa. Not just prison, solitary confinement. And when the aliens went over there in 2018, we had a chance to go to the Nelson Mandela Museum, and you could kind of see all these things. And I remember being in there and thinking to myself, I don't know if I could survive 27 years in solitary confinement. So it just makes you think, man, what kind of optimism did he have to just survive that, and not just survive it, and then to get released and to become the president of the nation that put you through all this. And it wasn't just 27 years, it was all the years before that too.
Yes. Mhm.
So if he could have that kind of optimism, I mean, if we could have like a smidget of the optimism he had, I mean, who knows what we could accomplish. So, in a nutshell, I think those are the things. Again, I've just kind of been sitting back and trying to think, okay, Jason, what are some of the things that go into this thing? Because all of it is not classroom pedagogy or choral pedagogy, or there's a lot of just life happenings.
Yes, yes. There are so many things that definitely in school they don't teach you. It is only in the classroom and in the personal experiences that
Yeah,
really bring that and communicate that with our singers,
right,
and for them to identify with your experience and their experience, so have that reciprocity of
exactly,
emotions. That's what makes a choir, I guess, a choral ensemble so cohesive and with the
right,
same idea, with the same train of thoughts,
yeah,
not even just a performance, but in life itself. Because I think
exactly,
we spend more time in rehearsal, that sometimes we don't pay attention, but it becomes a bonding. And I can see that in your ensemble.
Right, right. Well, thank you so much. I think, and again, like I said when I started the comments, sometimes you do it not realizing what it is. So I think now that I could quantize it, now I could kind of be intentional to implement a lot of what I just shared. Some of it you just kind of do, on the fly or not, like I said, very unconsciously. But I think once we could quantize it and figure out what it is, then we could, intentionally use it.
And I'm happy for you that to do that, and especially for you to share those thoughts with people. And I know you just wrote a book, and it's Teaching with Heart: Tools for Addressing Societal Challenges Through Music. Tell us about
Oh,
that, and how this idea came. And I
yeah.
see in the menu, I haven't downloaded yet, but in the
So,
menu, you
so
talk about very, very excellent points.
okay.
Tell us about
So don't download it yet. I'm telling you that because the day after I released it, I was gonna just self-publish it, um, really, so I could kind of learn the whole process from beginning to end of what it takes to do a whole book.
it.
But I released it on Monday, and on Tuesday, a publisher came to me and I asked if they could pick it up. So actually, as I'm talking to you now, the publisher just put the website up on their thing. So get the hard copy. Well, I'll
Hard
send you the
copy,
information. Right.
okay.
I'll send you the information for that. But that project kind of started from a simple conversation I was having with some high school choral teachers from across the country. Some of them in New York, Ohio, Miami, Maryland. Some high school teachers, and we were literally just talking about the Alien album that came out in August, and some kind of we got to talking about so many of the songs on the CD seem to speak to things that are going on in society now. And of course, we had no idea that it would end up being that because we recorded the CD before COVID, before George Floyd, before all of these things. But all of a sudden, a song like "We Shall Overcome" was like, wait, like and a song like there's a
Perfect,
song there that's called
perfect timing.
uh
Perfect timing.
Perfect Timing, right? And there's a song there called "We Remember Them." So many songs, and we just started talking, and then all of a sudden, these ideas started coming about doing mod that could help introduce some of these sensitive topics in classrooms, and we thought that we as musicians have an advantage because we have this tool called music that so many people love. So why not use the tool and then find a way to? So, for example, one guy on the team, his name is Ryan Marsh from Ohio. Uh, has an amazing from Kentucky. Sorry, from Kentucky has an amazing high school program. And Ryan, Caucasian guy, he was real honest. He said, I don't feel comfortable going into my choirs to talk about social injustice to a bunch of Caucasian kids. I mean, where do I start?
Mm-hmm.
But I admire his bravery because he then decided to pick a song on the album that spoke directly to that. So how the process kind of worked, Ryan wrote like a module, like your typical lesson plan, and he connected it to the national core standards and to social emotional learning, and then we connected Ryan with the guy who wrote the song, Ken Burton. So they had an interview that I kind of facilitated, and that conversation, I mean, we were like all in tears by the end because Ken is now sharing what went into the song and his perspective, and Ryan being honest and sharing. So Ryan now feels he's not an expert, but now he feels comfortable in being able to play that song. And then there's a lesson plan in there that kind of asks all these relevant questions and all these examples and has like a multiple choice test bank and all these things. So now the students, they go from the music and slowly they'll realize, oh wait, we are actually talking about an issue here. So the entire book kind of does that. Some chapters deal with music theory and composition, and other chapters deal with social justice issues and that sort of thing. But that's kind of how the project came about. It started like a real organic thing. It didn't start out like, oh, I need to write a book. It didn't start like that at all. And Patricia, it happened like the whole thing from beginning to end happened in like 10 weeks. I mean, who writes? You know, I mean, that's how organic it was. And we did all. So it has 4 hours worth of video interviews with like Ken Burton, Mark Hayes, Cedric Dent from Take Six, James Mulholland, who is an amazing composer. That
Wonderful. Yes.
amazing. And so all these wonderful composers, and they sharing their stories behind the songs and that sort of thing. So I think it's something, and it kind of started out initially like a book that high school teachers would use, but by the end of it, it really morphed into something I think all, not just choral directors, but I think anybody in the arts, art teachers, theater teachers could really use to kind of introduce these conversations. So I'm really happy about it and proud of it. And so like I said, the publisher is going to be released like the site is already up today, so I'll send it to you.
Awesome, awesome. And I see that you just, the modules are based on each particular song that they always sing
Right.
with the composer. And then from that point is the lesson plan for it.
Exactly.
Brilliant,
Exactly. Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it will come, I hope, with a CD or something with the audio format.
So the book is kind of techy. That's why it really took the publisher some thinking to figure out how to make it a hard copy and then to have all these links work. So it comes with the books are these we call them access codes that will get you access to all the 4 hours of video and all the hyperlinks that are in the book. These access codes will take you straight there. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
something that really we need in this in the education world,
Yeah.
definitely, because I can tell there is so much. There is a big gap
Yeah.
in that particular area that
Yeah.
teachers don't know how to
Exactly.
teach, how to approach
Exactly.
these subjects, and I think that will kind of really, you know, fill that gap,
Right.
and hopefully people and the students from this generation, they can learn that music really unite people and
Yeah.
instead of divide people,
Right. Right.
and
Exactly.
they can need to be more conscious about it, and not be so, so quick in judging, or so quick in making the division or making assumptions that they shouldn't. um,
Right.
so education is the key.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Yes, that's fantastic. Congratulations for that. And congratulations as well for your Grammy nomination. Tell us all about it. Oh my goodness, that's
So, so,
exciting.
so actually, the nomination hasn't come yet. So what happened is we are on the ballot to hopefully be nominated. So what's it called? Round one of the ballots just ended last week or the week before, I forget. And sometime, I don't know, they don't have a date. Sometime in November, December, we'll know if we make the top five of those categories. So we'll see what happens.
So what
But
is
it's like,
the process? What is the process? What was the process to be in that position?
uh, so it's so trust me, I had to learn so much about this because I don't know anything about it. But so GIA publishes which the album they they uh they were the benefactors of the album. The CEO he has the power to what's the word, not enter, but to present albums that the academy, the Recording Arts Academy, then kind of goes over, and then they decide, okay, this is up the standard, and it fits into this category or this category. So the CEO of GIA did that initially, and it got accepted for all those three categories: best choral performance, best recording engineer classical, and best producer classical. So they got entered into those categories, and now what happens is all the members of the Recording Academy are eligible to vote. So they literally are supposedly are supposed to sit down and listen to all this music, and I think there are 84 categories. I think rap and R&B and gospel and
Mhm.
children's books and blah blah. And I think every member gets to vote in 15 categories of your choosing. So hopefully people would have voted in round one and see our name on the ballot and actually vote for us. So what is happening now? They send it to independent third party or something to tabulate. And I think in the choral category, it then goes to another kind of. So he presents the album, and they kind of figure out is this up the standard and blah blah blah. And then round one, the members go in and vote. They pick 15 of the 80 something categories that they want to vote in, and I think at that point they could pick like the top 5 albums that they like. And then in the choral category, well, actually in the entire classical category, I think orchestra, choral, whatever it is, it then goes to a specialist committee. So in our case, we'll go to a choral committee of experts. I have no idea who those would be, and they listen blindly to the top 15, and then they'll narrow it down to the top 5. So that's where we are in the process now, just kind of waiting to see where the chips fall for that top 5. And then from that top 5, the academy, all the members will go back in and vote round 2 to pick the winners. So I'm just happy to be on the ballot. I mean, I was never
Yes.
even wasn't it
And
wasn't even a thought.
and I think you deserved it. The students deserve it. This is one of the most amazing albums. I did download that, and I've been listening. It's in my in my car right now, actually.
Wow, thanks
And
so much.
it is just amazing. It's just so beautiful, so well done. Is that the one that you record here at the Gideon Blackburn House, part of it,
No,
or
no, no,
that
no.
was something?
No, no. So this entire thing, we did it 4 days before COVID shut down school. So it was actually part of spring tour. So the first half of tour we were up in the East Coast, and the second half of the tour we had dedicated for this recording. So we were actually in Atlanta, and GIA made sure to send a really top classical engineer that has actually won Grammys as a recording engineer. His name is Paul Vasquez. So he actually drove from New York with all his gear and
Oh
came
wow.
down to, and then the players on there are players from some of them from the Atlanta Symphony and the Atlanta Opera, and so we had
Yes.
a great time recording it over 2 days. Yeah, 2 days,
Wow.
and the thing is, if we had scheduled the recording like the week after, it would never happen because
Will never
COVID shut
happen.
everybody down. Yeah.
As I said, it was just in time because
Okay.
we shall overcome, and especially with your notes at the beginning, it was so moving. It has been a hit. I don't know how many hits YouTube have right now, but it went viral, and so many magazines like ACDA and I mean, choral, all the choral magazines, internet. Websites have shown
Right.
that video, and I am so moved for it.
Well,
And of course I love to see Chad singing.
everybody loves Chad.
I know, he's
Yeah.
awesome. He's just awesome.
Yeah.
And my one of my favorite songs is actually Smiled. So well done by Leonard. I just loved it, loved it, loved it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And Chad is such a multi-talented guy. Chad actually was a graphic designer for the book. This was like his first big book project, so we worked him to death. But he did an amazing job.
Yes.
Publishers saw it, they were like, man, this book is beautiful. Well, like when you look at it, it's really really well designed. So Chad is a great guy.
Chad is very, very talented. And tell me about the process that you have when you participate in either festivals or competitions, international competitions. You have won the Choir of the World, and also the choral games,
Yeah.
not just once but many many times. So what
Yeah.
is the process that you have, or you do, in order to get that mentally and emotionally and physically?
Great questions. So well, the first part of the process is always kind of reading the rules that the whatever the competition has set up. So like World Choir Games has very stringent rules about length and composers in your region, composers out of your region, and you have to have all these different things. So you have to fall within those guidelines. But then overall, I just always try to come up with a program that feels good and that the kids will enjoy singing, and at the same time present some sort of challenge, because it is a competition. You have to kind of show that you had a very very high caliber of musicianship and musicality, And then I think the catch is then trying to do all of that, but make it look easy, if that makes sense. So that's the first part of the process. And then what was you said physically? Was it emotionally? You said in the beginning, in the middle.
Emotionally, yes.
Yeah. So I think that emotional connection, the physicality part, um, is something we try to implement. Well, how do I answer this? We do it all along as we kind of learning notes and rhythm and stuff, but I think there's a whole extra process that happens after we're able to sing the whole program. Um, so that's the time we really take the time to really pour in emotionally. You know, what do we want this little phrase to? What do we want to feel when we sing this phrase? What do we want to feel when we sing this next phrase? Because you know it is always shifting, and then people really start connecting individually to. So for example, if we sing in a song like let's say "We Shall Overcome," so measures 7 to 9 or whatever it is, I might be able to zone into an experience that I have had to get me to feel that gut wrenching sadness or whatever it is, and somebody might think of a separate experience that they had, but the overall thing is we want to feel sad right here in these 2 measures, and then the next 10 measures we should all feel hope. So everybody now is trying to dig in to feel those things, and once we feel it, hopefully it gets over to the audience. And then physically, it was in 2017 when we won the World Choir Games. Actually, let me back up. 2018 when we went to South Africa, and we just stumbled upon this. So the South Africa trip, for whatever reason I can't really remember right now, but we went to South Africa like very early, and I think part of it was to one try to get used to the climate, of course, to get the jet lag off, and then another one that our manager probably thought of, but I wasn't thinking about it, to get used to the food, because I mean, there were groups that came in like 2 days before the competition, and during the competition, they will have members who couldn't sing because just the adjustment to the food messed them up, and so they were missing members. And so we kind of got there. I don't know, 2 3 weeks early. We were doing tours and going to the safari and stuff like that. So we had time to kind of really settle in. But
Yes.
we were staying in this wonderful hotel in why can't I think of the name of the place right now? A really nice part of South Africa. And we asked them if there was a room that we can use to rehearse. You know, we just want to rehearse every day for an hour, a couple hours, just to, fine tune. And it so happened that in the middle of this amazing hotel, there was a huge gym that spanned floors. I mean, just the most amazing equipment. And part of the gym, they had this huge like a dance theater or something. You know those dance theaters, they have mirrors around the entire room. So they just happened to give us this room. They said you guys could have it for free. Um, but having those mirrors, just all of a sudden was like, wow, now we could actually see everybody's faces and expressions. And it was Chad who was Chad was in charge of choreography and expression, that sort of thing. It took us to a whole different level when we could see people's faces and be like, okay, come on, man, like, what are you doing? You don't look, so they were being real picky. And to this day, Patricia, from that experience, I was in 2018. Now I'm always sure to build that into whatever preparation process. So, for example, the next year when we signed for ACDA, Chad and I sat down and we said, look, 4 weeks before ACDA, we need to find a room with some mirrors. So Chad did. We found the what do you call those things? The Boys and Girls Club.
Club.
No, the YMCA. Yeah, same thing. YMCA. There's one out in Madison, and they gave us a room. So for 4 Fridays leading up to ACDA, we got that room that had the same mirrors, and we were able to kind of put cones and stuff where the instruments are going to be so that we could kind of simulate the real experience. So that mirror thing works wonders.
That's
so
awesome.
So that kind of goes into the physicality part of the whole process. So now I make sure to build that in all the time.
Yes. Yeah, so one of the things that I tell my singers all the time, look at your faces. And, now that we're recording, this is, it's very evident, you don't look at her, you make sure that you have that emotion. I said, this is the money maker right here.
The thing is, I found that, especially with my students, it's so much easier for them to correct it. Like they get tired of me saying, "Man, you guys, your face doesn't look." But if they see it themselves, oh, they'll fix it. They'll fix it like that. So that mirror thing is a wonder.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you came to the US?
How old was I?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's a funny story. So I was born in March, and in July of that same year, my parents we moved to Barron Springs, Michigan, because my parents were at Andrews University. So I actually spent like the first 3 years of my life in the States.
Okay.
And then my parents went back to Trinidad. And then, I mean, we have so many relatives in the States and Canada, so we were back and forth all the time. But
Uh-huh.
I guess what you're trying to get at, I came to school here in the States in 1997, is when I came to Oakwood as a junior.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. So what was I would say the barriers or the the cultural shock that you found during that time? Because
Uh,
sometimes it's like when you move, especially when you're an adult, it's a
yeah.
little different than when you
Yeah.
move with a little.
It probably wasn't as bad for me because, like I said, we would spend a lot of summers here because my dad has a lot of siblings in the States or in Canada, so it wasn't as bad for me, but it definitely was a shock. Like I'm the only son in my house, so I was so used to always having my own room and that sort of thing. So getting to Oakwood and all of a sudden I had a roommate, I was like, okay, what is going on? Uh, so those things were more of a shock, but the culture-wise, it wasn't a huge change for me that much because we were always here in the States, and so that part wasn't as bad. Just the thing of being an only son was those things kind of threw me off.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So when you came back to Oakwood to work at Oakwood, how was that transition? Coming, being a student,
Yeah.
and then being the director, not just the choir, but also to the School of Music.
Yeah, it was a little interesting. I was coming back and I had teachers here who had taught me in school. So that was an interesting dynamic. I was at the time the youngest faculty member, so that was another interesting dynamic. Um, but I have to say the faculty, by and large, kind of gave me the space to be, whatever I was emerging to be. And Dr. Lacey in particular. Were you here when Dr. Lacey was here? Dr.
No.
Lacey taught at Oakwood for, geez, 40 something years. I forget, 48, 40 something years, long years. She was a music ed teacher. And I think Dr. Lacey was perhaps, everyone says this very fondly. She was like an amazing chairperson. Oh, amazing. I mean, even
Oh.
as a student, I remember her being chair. She was so loving and she was very, very nurturing. So when I came back, she just was like, she wasn't chair then, but she was kind of like almost passing the baton on. She was getting older and she was just so happy to see alums coming back to teach. So um, it was a great time, and it was a time of trying to establish what it was to be a university professor. I was coming here from teaching high school, and I was in high school and doing my doctorate all at the same time. So it was a time to really learn all the things you're learning, in a DMA program like So it was a great time, but it was interesting being a young dude and being, now having your teachers as colleagues. That was a
Uh-huh.
shift. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of the best things that happened because the way that not just the Aeolians, but also the school itself, the School of Music itself, have improved tremendously. The faculty is incredible. The
Incredible.
dynamic between the faculty is just awesome. It's a joy. It's a joy to be there, and
Yeah.
it's something that is very special. People don't know. People outside, even Huntsville and outside the stage, they don't know how a jewel of
Exactly.
the School of Music is at Oakwood.
Yeah.
I
You,
mean, singers are just incredible, and the people,
yeah.
the students, their sensitivity, their beliefs, it's just incredible. I just love it.
You're so correct. And I have to say, in some ways, I'm spoiled when it comes to, like, over the years, over the decades, you read so much about, I mean, so much has been written between the fights between the choral, between our choral department and the vocal department. And honestly, I've never experienced it. I've never experienced it when I went to Morgan State University. My teacher there, Nathan Carter, and Dr. Betty Ridgway, they had an incredible relationship. When I went to University of Maryland, same thing. The voice faculty and the choral faculty were like this. I mean, then I
Hmm.
come here, and I mean, with Julie, I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
I don't even think about it. But in some other schools and in other areas, that's like a real fight. And
Yes.
I'm just praying I don't ever have to deal with something like that because I think it's so silly, right? It's like, it's so silly. But Julie, who's our lead voice teacher here, is always very encouraging, and she, I'll bring Julie in how many times a year to work with the choir, and for AC Day, Julie came with us because I wanted to be sure to have a voice teacher with us on the road, and so that's something here we've been very fortunate to have. I don't know if it's always been like that here, but in my tenure here, it's always been like that. And it's been an absolute joy.
Yeah, and great product, good, excellent musicians, excellent singers that have come through, and now they're shining in different stages, which is just admirable, and yeah, it's great. Congratulations,
You're right.
congratulations.
For a small school, we've produced some amazing talent. So I can't take the faculty here have shared all that credit because they point to them in ways that you probably wouldn't get at another school or a larger school.
Yeah, but no, one thing that I have noticed is there's no limitations for them, and that's exactly what we need to do to the students. Encourage, there's no limitations for them. You have to reach as higher as possible. If somebody can do it, why you cannot? So
Right.
just do it, do it.
Exactly.
Just
Exactly.
encourage them. So
Yep.
yes, definitely,
Yep.
definitely. Well, Jason, thank you so much.
Oh, no
um
problem.
oh, it's great. We need to get another chat
That's fine.
in
So
person next time.
yeah, that's fine. So the Master Chorale, you guys are just meeting virtually.
We are what we did. um it's been very hard, but we decided to do every month a virtual project. So like just yesterday we released a song about hope and peace, and then we were doing some Bach. We're supposed to do some Bach last spring, so we're going to do two movements, two chorales, something simple.
Yeah.
And then we're meeting in Zoom, which I just hear the recordings, and then I have learned how to mix. I have learned how to do
Yeah,
videos.
we've all had to learn skills again that it didn't teach us in the classroom. Um,
No, no, they don't.
yeah, one of my friends in California just last week was saying, Jason, I have 3 degrees in music. I've been teaching for all these years, and no one. And he said he never took a technology class, and it
Oh,
don't.
yeah.
I mean, and so I think the curriculum somewhere will be changing to
Yes.
trying to come. Yeah, we've become great mixers and buying gadgets and figuring out how they work. And yeah, you doing it now.
Let me tell you, wow. But
Yeah,
it takes hours.
it takes a lot of
Hours. It's
time.
exhausting.
It's exhausting, yeah. And is hopefully, I think what will happen is because we learn all these skills now, when we get out of the pandemic, we'll find a way to incorporate those skills in the live music making process. And I think I'm just excited to see what people come up with.
Yes, it's crazy. We're going to start rehearsing. Actually, we did a rehearsal at Montesano Amphitheater. Amazing acoustic. Have you ever been in there?
The Mount Sano Amphitheater. I haven't been up there in a little while. I need to maybe this weekend I'll go.
So if you go to the lodge, they
Yeah.
have like an amphitheater, and they have the steps and then a wall. And I put them in there to sing, and you can hear every single voice. It's just
Wow.
incredible. And
Wow.
it was open space, very nice. It was great. So
Mm.
that is a good place. I'm thinking, what are you doing?
So, um, I don't know if you've been to the church since Pastor Bird built the new Family Life Center. Is attached to the church. So we're actually rehearsing. There's a huge basketball court in there. So we've been meeting in there, and a lot. I mean, the first 3 or 4 rehearsals, I don't know what was going on because you could tell they can't hear each other, and nothing was ever in time.
Uh-huh.
And then so they have the mask on, the resonance mask that
You have the singer's masks?
well, I know there's a singer's mask and there's another one, another company made called the resonance mask, but same concept. It kind of sticks out a little bit, so there's room. So
Uh-huh.
everybody has one of those, and then I bought. Wegner made these big shields.
Wow, I saw them. I love them. Wow, I love them.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
every singer has one in front of them. So that was just blocking all the sound too. Honestly, it's only like the last 3 rehearsals or so where I kind of felt like, okay, I'm getting used to the sound now, or the lack of sound, I should say. I'm figuring out how to make it work. But hopefully next Thursday we should be recording like some video audio for this program out in London. So with that program, I'm making the choir kind of small for that. And in the church, we figured out a way we could fit about 30 people like fully spread out. I mean, not just in the choir loft. I mean, like the entire stage, the steps, and then we'll have some instruments, but I'll have to put them behind me, like in where the congregation sits. It's gonna be just this. It's gonna be funny. I don't know how we're gonna pull this off, but so it'll be like a short Christmas, like a 20-minute Christmas set. So we'll
that's
see how that goes.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome. I think we need that. We need that. We need those kind of performances because right now everything is so dark, and we really need to cheer us up with music, and they're not going to silence us. That's what I feel. That, we cannot sing right now, but that's not going to stop us to sing and make music. So yes, share that with all of us.
So we're making it, but it's no fun.
It's not fun. It's not fun. I was like, I miss my people, but we'll be reunited again.
Yeah, exactly. 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 Cool. Well, Patricia, tell everybody I said hello, and
Okay.
take care. Be safe.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.